Welcome back to Midnight Writers Club, where sleepless creatives, horror lovers, and storytelling fanatics gather under the glow of the midnight oil. Whether you're up late writing, reading, or just looking for a reason to embrace the eerie hours, you've come to the right place. I'm Mo Medusa, your host, and before we get started, you might have noticed something a little bit different. We had to change the intro music due to some copyright issues, even though I bought royalty-free music. But don't worry, the midnight vibes are still strong. Now, on to tonight's episode. We're diving into something personal, something inescapable. Nightmares. We've all had them. Those dreams that shake us awake, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. But what if they're more than just bad dreams? What if they're trying to tell us something? And as writers, how can we use nightmares to fuel our storytelling? Nightmares are one of the oldest and most universal human experiences. Every culture, every era, every person has experienced them in some form. But why do we have them? Scientifically, nightmares are thought to be our brain's way of processing fear and anxiety. It's like our subconscious is testing us, preparing us for danger. But in folklore and horror, nightmares are often seen as something more. Premonitions, visitations, even a form of possession. Think about some of the classic nightmare myths. The night hag, the mare from Norse mythology, where we get the word nightmare. Or the idea that ghosts and demons invade our sleep to feed off our energy. Even today, we have experiences like sleep paralysis, where people wake up unable to move, feeling like something is watching them. And if you've ever had a sleep paralysis demon stare you down at 3 a.m., you know how real it feels. Nightmares are a gold mine for horror storytelling. Some of the most terrifying books and films were inspired by real nightmares. Stephen King has said that parts of Misery and It came from his dreams. Mary Shelley supposedly dreamt of a horrifying scientist before writing Frankenstein. And Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street was inspired by real reports of people dying in their sleep after experiencing terrifying dreams. In horror fiction, nightmares are often used to blur the line between reality and fantasy. They create doubt. Is the protagonist just dreaming? Or is something really trying to reach them? Nightmares make us question our own perception, which is terrifying. And let's not forget how horror games use nightmares. Titles like Silent Hill and Layers of Fear thrive on dream logic, where the world constantly shifts and nothing makes sense, just like in a bad dream. So, how can we as writers use nightmares effectively in storytelling? 1. Make them symbolic. The best nightmares in fiction mean something. They aren't just there for a cheap scare. They reflect the character's fears, guilt, or trauma. 2. Use dream logic. Nightmares don't follow the rules of reality. Things shift. People change. Locations morph. The unsettling feeling of something being off is key. 3. blur the line between dream and reality. If you really want to mess with your readers, make them question what's real. Is your character actually awake, or are they still dreaming? Nightmares are already stories our brain creates, so why not steal from ourselves? You know what time it is. It's time for your Midnight Writing Challenge. Tonight's prompt: write about a character who keeps having the same nightmare over and over. But each time, something changes. Maybe it's a tiny detail at first, but as the dream repeats, the truth starts to unravel. What is their subconscious trying to tell them? Or is something else trying to get through? As always, if you write something based on this prompt, tag me or send it my way. I'd love to see what your darkest dreams have in store. Before we wrap up, I just want to take a moment to talk about the future of Midnight Writers Club. Because while things will stay the same for now, I have some exciting plans in store. Eventually, I'd love to expand the podcast to include book reviews and deep dive discussions on horror fiction. I want to interview authors, both indie and traditionally published, to talk about their journeys, their craft, and, of course, their favorite scary stories. I also want to start a monthly indie author spotlight, where we feature and celebrate up-and-coming horror and speculative fiction writers. And since this podcast is as much about the writing journey as it is about horror, I want to start sharing more of my own experiences as a writer. The struggles, the successes, and the weird midnight epiphanies that come with crafting stories in the dark. So, stay tuned, because Midnight Writers Club is just getting started. Well, that's it for tonight's episode of Midnight Writers Club. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe, follow, or carve my name into your bedroom wall. Whatever feels right. Next time, we're shifting from the mind to the body. We're talking about body horror. Why do twisted transformations, grotesque mutations, and the fear of losing control over our own flesh disturb us so much? Until then, keep the lights low, the words flowing, and remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones we write ourselves.